Jeremy tonight. It's my grand sponsor here. He is well-versed, as I like to say. Just super knowledgeable, man. You can tell when a guy just, knows Shania Twain lyrics and can also, quote mystical. He's across the board. If you're struggling through alcoholism or, drug issues, he can get you through this book. His verbiage was the way that, led my sponsor and myself through this thing and gave us a solution to this stuff. So with that, Jeremy, take it away, man.
Jeremy. Thanks. Thanks, Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's how you introduce a speaker.
Never getting that from me, dude.
Never expect it from you. Not with the sponsorship you've had. My name is Jeremy. I'm a recovered drug addict.
What's up, Jeremy?
And normally this is where I'd thank whoever asked me to speak. I delegated this to myself. So I have no one to blame for my problems on this one if this one goes a little sideways, man. Normally, too, I know you guys have been in here, what we've been doing is we do, somebody leads in with their whole deal and kind of making their way up to this point. Given the room that I'm looking at right now, I'm not going to, subject you guys to that twice in the same month, or I'm not going to do that to you, is what I'm not going to do, and I don't want to have, more amends to make by the time this thing is over, and what I get told is really all I got is my experience with this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to pick some stuff out of the book, read it, tell you about how this stuff came to be in my life, man. And then I don't know. I like these kind of meetings, man. I try not to babble too on about amends, man. I really do like what you guys have to say about them. I like other people's experience on this kind of stuff. We do a retreat every year, and this past year we had a guy come down from New York and went through this stuff, and he was talking about. He got to the amends portion of the whole deal, man, and the way he described it was a way I like a lot, because there's a line in the earlier in the book, and it says we have been rocketed into the fourth dimension of existence, and the way he described it is these amends that we get to make, this restitution I get to make, this is the fuel, right? This is the thing that pushes me into this whole new world of existence that I says couldn't even have dreamed, and I can really line my experience up with that kind of thing, and so on page 76, about halfway down, it goes right after this, right? We hit this 7-step prayer, these 6 and 7, and it says, now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have this list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. I made it when I took inventory and subjected myself to a drastic self-appraisal. And I don't know, man, because in this inventory thing, I don't know, I had seemed not a daunting process, man. It was not what I thought other people had made it out to be. You know what I mean? I thought it was this big deal that I was going through, man, and I was really gonna, I don't know. I think it sucks, man. You hear a lot of crap around here about this being a really scary step or this really scary deal, and really what it was that. It was a drastic self-appraisal. It was the first time in my life that somebody sat down and broke my, that's all right, yeah, that's fine. It's a fucking fentanyl balloon coming up, man. It's and, probably broke some kind of ego thing down in me enough to where for the first time in my life I really stopped playing victim to my circumstances, and that Bill does this really interesting thing when I do this, and he takes this thing where I think I'm making all these resentments against people that I don't like, this list I've been accumulating in my head without my permission, really, that I just can't stop compiling, and used it to look at who I am as a person, and through that really looked at the people and the harms I had done to others. And I don't know if you guys are like me, but I don't have to be newly coming in or something like that. Give me a 6 months in something and some kind of program or doing something, and I'm don't know if you guys ever hurt people again. It's not like I do this kind of thing and I'm like this perfect guy that doesn't say it, but my experience has been too is I do that, and that stuff, this same kind of thing where I'm like unwilling to make some kind of amends. That's the crap I stay up at night over, and that's the stuff my head spins on me about, and that's the thing that I fall into. I maybe not know I'm doing it at the time, but I fall into this self-pity of look at what a piece of crap I am, look at all the things I've done, and it's the kind of stuff that spins on my head, man, that I have this alcoholism and this untreated addiction that just uses, man, as just a wear on a guy like me and really grind on me, and so I subject myself to that, and now we go out to our fellows and we repair this damage done in the past, and I attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of my effort to live on self-will and run the show myself. And if I haven't had the will to do this, I ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed in the beginning I would go to any length for victory over drugs. And this is still the whole guiding factor with the guys who have come in and done this kind of stuff before. I think they hit on this stuff really well, and it was hammered into me so hard, the importance of this first step we have. And because that's the first thing I come to believe in, man. I might have told you I didn't come to believe in the book or really my sponsor, these steps immediately. The first thing I had to be convinced of, and the first thing I really believed in, is the hopelessness and futility of my life as I have been living it. I was sold on that. I had bought into that 100%, man, that my life, the way I'm doing it, sucks. It's evident by 30 years old and I'm sitting in this treatment center, and I'm sitting on this guy's back porch that I don't even know, and he's, asking me, hey, how's life going right now? And I was like, it sucks, man. Like, I don't know. I'm glad you're excited that we're here, you know what I mean? And I'm going to kind of just get more into 9, but I think the importance of step 8 really gets, I don't know, maybe it gets brushed on in the red, maybe it doesn't, because I skip over this thing too, right? That if I haven't had the will to do this, I ask until it comes. I still have like 2 lingered out, unmade amends, man, 6 years later, that anytime I do something like this, I think for the past month or so, like 2 months, I've known I was going to do this. And I'm like, I got to get out there and I got to clear these things up. I don't look like a phony in front of these guys, you know what I mean? I just get up and yell to you guys, I really don't do this kind of stuff, and the reality is, man, it is the willingness wasn't there, and I had done this same prayer it's asking me for over the past couple months. I've reached out to him. I've got static on the other line coming back, right? But you guys have asked me to reach out and do that because in my experience, man, is I am at this 8 thing is I am at until I'm standing face to face with you, until I'm really in this process of doing it, I'm just sitting on step 8, you know what I mean? Up until I do that, I might be ready to do it all day or not, but up until the process of setting it up has even looked like an 8 to me, right? I may look like that as an issue because my whole thing is you guys have actually had to do these amends, right? But it is the calling, it is the tracking people down, it is setting up the place and time, it is trying to figure out what am I going to bring to the table. That all sits on that kind of deal. How heavy of a deal it is for me to, if I remember right, I had to look it up. I don't know the principles. I probably should know the principles behind these steps by now, but to my knowledge, 8 is either you get different depending on what you're looking at, whether it's humility or willingness or, I think every step has humility behind it anyway, but I'm sitting in that little degree of willingness, it says, what links am I ready to go to for victory over this thing? And so, on this next thing over on 77, there's just this little line, man, and it really does, I think this sums up this kind of almost like in a nutshell, this whole deal that we're going is that on 77, that at the moment we're trying to put our lives in order. This is not an end in itself. Our real purpose, my real purpose, is to fit myself to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. And up until this point, whether I realized it or not, my whole purpose in life, if you followed me around, looked like I was trying to fit myself. I was trying to fit you to be of maximum service to me. And I'm trying to fit God, whether I believe in it or not. I'm trying to fit the world and everything in it to work the way I want it to. Bill nailed it when he talked about that actor trying to run the whole show. And such a turn on its head about what it's asking me to do here and a way to live my life. And my reality is that before going into this 6 and 7, and it gets delved into pretty good, and there's some guys that talk really well about it. And I think in my experience, the whole deal with this is asking God really to get enough of me out of the way so I can go out and I can get it right between me and your kids. Because I've found no difference between that, man. I can't access God. I can't tap into this power if I'm still clogged off from you guys, if I'm still thinking about everything I've done, if I'm still the thief, if I'm still the guy that owes, if I'm still the one that stole the time and the money and the, I don't know, it caused the emotional harm and all that kind of stuff. And so, I look at on here. Here, I'll look at 78, or next page over, and I'm just going to a couple more things. And because the real deal with this, I like this, just this one story I have, man. I'm not going to bore you guys to death with a bunch of them, but my deal with it too is a huge part of it was like these amends we're talking about. It wasn't it was a hit the ground running and go make them kind of deal, and it wasn't a spread this stuff out as far as you can and let's make a little here and let's make a little there. And I know that sounds contradictory considering I just told you 6 years later I got a couple of them I haven't done. But the real deal with it, with the way I got run through this stuff was let's go out and hit them. You know what I mean? If you guys ever look into it, there's a story in a video. This whole thing, this whole 12-step deal that we're doing right now, it's bred out of a lot of stuff and a lot of little miracles, man, just coming together and melting together. And a huge one is it's all born out of a lot of this and this step 8, man, and 9. And if you ever look at A Vision for You, it'll really give a good kind of talk on this. Dr. Bob refusing to make amends, pushed him off, didn't want to do it, gets loaded again. I see now for the first few years, I watched a lot of guys stall at this 4th and 5th step, and now for some reason I got guys blazing through that like no problem, man. I'm like, I used to be super impressed. They did their 5th. I was like, dude, this guy's on his way. We're gonna put his face, those little coins that have Bill and Bob, we're slapping this guy, up there too. And and the reality is what I've seen now more than anything, I've seen these guys get to these amends and just pump the brakes. You know what I mean? And it has a immense effect. And I've watched the same thing that happens with Bob is that goes out, doesn't want to make him, gets drunk, comes back, and then essentially, man, he hits the ground running, right? Comes home exhausted one day, collapsed, and never drinks again. Dives into the rest of it. It's not like he just made his amends and like, this is all good. I'm going to go just work on all these assholes now. He did that, but different assholes. You know what I mean? Guys like me. And but our deal was, mine was to go through and go repair this stuff with your family, go repair this stuff with your mother, go repair all this kind of stuff, man. All this money you owe, all these things you owe to people, and you're still a thief if you're sitting there and you got money lingering out there. And how many new hats and shoes do I need when I'm getting sober and I still got $1,000 sitting out there to people, man? I am, whether I realize it or not, I am still the thief and still the guy that steals that kind of stuff from people. And the mom that I've always went and told I'm sorry to and never actually changed. And that is the big thing that happens for a guy like me is this amends does not mean I'm sorry. And I do think there is a sincere difference. I get taught when I'm doing this, we take I'm sorry out of the vocabulary. We're not saying that anymore. You said it enough. I don't know if you guys have ever, when you're making them, it is a hard thing to like get out of my mouth from falling out. But I do believe there is a difference between, hey, Jimmy, I know I stole that money from you. I don't know, sorry about that, and like I am sincerely sorry for the time I took from you, from your peace of mind, from all this stuff. You never deserved that. And I didn't do any of these amends without the sitting down first and going over it at least a little bit over with my sponsor and what I was going to say and how I was going to lead into it, because I am still the guy at this point. It doesn't matter, man. This ego, this self, it has always kind of just clouded me from what reality is, and they're always able to point it out a little better than I am. And I get told for the few things, and I'm sure you guys had a lot of the same experience, which is like what I did I leave anything out? And it says, man, I might have to eat credit. It says it essentially in a part of this, I don't criticize anybody. I don't argue. I take it on the chin. whatever it is. I think these amends are all about me, making me feel better. And it is not, man. It is about my mother. It is about clearing things up. It is about this life that gets restored with their family and giving these people their son and, you know what I mean, their brother, their employee, their nephew, giving their friend, you know what I mean, giving all that stuff back to them if they're willing to have it. And if they're not, it's here if you want it. You know, I'm more than willing to show up for you for something like that. So I'm just gonna this little part, man, and I'll shut up with this kind of thing. And on 78, I've heard like mixed things. You know, I started hitting these amends. I was still in this treatment center, so you get a mixed bag of people coming in talking about whatever. And it says in 9 cases out of 10, that first paragraph on 78, in 9 cases out of 10, the unexpected happens. Sometimes the man we are calling upon admits his own fault, so feuds of years in standing melt away in an hour. Rarely do we fail to make satisfactory progress. Our former enemies will sometimes praise what we are doing and wish us well. Occasionally, they will offer assistance, and it should not matter, however, if someone does throw us out of his office. We have made our demonstration, done our part. It is water over the dam. And that's like I'm a guy who kind of walks into this stuff with a little bit of fear, not knowing what's going to happen. And I'm going to jump back and forth on this. On 80, like down more towards the bottom, talking about this guy who's going to go to jail for not paying alimony. But there's this line that says he saw that he had to place the outcome in God's hands, or he would soon start using again, and all would be lost anyhow. And I always come back, man, how sold am I on that thing, that if I keep leaving this stuff between me and God and me and you, that this is coming anyways. It always has been. But back on 78, that middle paragraph, that most addicts owe money. I don't dodge my creditors, telling them what I am trying to do. I make no bones about my drinking. They usually know it anyhow, whether I think so or not. And whether that's that or my family, man, my first sponsor would sit down and tell me, you're trying to... I don't know how many of you guys have gone. You get sobered up for a little bit, and I'm sitting around my family, but there is still like this thick air between us. Because I've done it before. I've gotten better before, and he said, I got a newsflash for you, man. You know what I mean? Like, you've done some scummy stuff. And I said, I know. He's like, well, I don't know if this is a surprise to you, but they also know that you've done some scummy stuff to them, and nobody's talking about it. They know the money that's missing. They know the lies. They know all this stuff I think I'm so slick with. You know what I mean? I don't know. I come into this thing, and I would have told you, like, I'm a really good manipulator, man. I can talk anybody into anything. I can't, and I'm terrible at it, and what I really do is I just bother you so bad till you give me whatever just to get me to go away. And still do that. Still do that. You should, you
not
know.
Perfect.
Yeah, not at all, man. Jesus, ask my wife. And but that I owe money and I'm trying to dodge my creditors. I didn't come into this kind of deal. I don't know if you guys came in here with like crippling credit card debt or something like that, you know, bottom of the barrel. I owed like Ace Cash checking a little bit of money and a couple overdrawn bank accounts. The people I really owed and the ones I feared and the one I slinked around my neighborhoods with, I owe creditors money that have names like money. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys have names like money, and I don't know their names. I don't know their real names. I have no idea what it is. You know, I'm like, I know your name's not G. I know that's not it. I doubt it even starts with that, dude. But that's all I need. You know, that's all I need to know. I love all the letters. And
I owe them all too.
And but those are the people I owe money, and nor am I afraid of disclosing my addiction on the theory it may cause financial harm. Approaching this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we let these people know we are sorry. My using has made me slow to pay, or not pay at all, usually. And I must lose with fear of my creditors, no matter how far I have to go, for I am liable to use if I am afraid to face them. So, my deal was I grew up not far from here, man, like a couple miles down the road. And I'm the guy, I'm always coming up from behind. I'm a let me get a front guy. I'm not a let me come with all the money. I'm not like a surplus like you. I don't know if you guys have ever being sober for a little bit, paid a little bit extra on your like electric bill, but then it like rolls over. Like I didn't have any of that with like Dilaudid or something, you know. And I had a guy where I had somehow convinced him to give me a little bit of credit on something. Not a lot either. It was $30, by the way. I've learned this. I don't care whether I owe you like $1,000 or $30. I feel the same fear of getting my ass kicked wherever I'm at or whatever it is. And I had gotten this little bit, and whatever plans I had to go back later on and these promises I made to give him his money back, something had happened where I ended up in detox that night or Marchman acted or something like that, and 4 or 5 days pass. I don't know if you guys are like me. Like I realized it's been too long. Because even if I pay you right now, you're not going to give me anything anymore. And I'm always coming up from behind anyway. I'm the type of guy, I need to borrow like $50 to go make $30 kind of deal. And I slink around my neighborhood for the next, year. Just every time I see like a red like 1989 like Chevy truck riding down, my everything goes. I'm just terrified is what I am. Terrified. And I'm sinking in these back streets, and it's like 90 degrees in June in the summer, and I'm walking with my hood up and stuff, you know, hoping nobody recognizes me. Oddly enough, sticking out more. And so I go through that little whatever, and I get sober, and I'm in this treatment center, and I go through these steps, and these guys convince me of this stuff, and while I'm in there, I start hitting these amends, and this is one of them that I am pushing off, that I'm not really doing, and it's not for any particular big reason. I'm scared to make it. It is all it is. I'm scared to make it. And I was like, I'll just do it when the opportunity presents itself. And I had, like I said, that's what I was saying about these treatment or wherever, you know, you get a mixed bag from people. Some people would tell you like, oh, that's your old dealer, or you need to stay away from those kind of people. And I get the opposite, and thank God I did, right? These guys said, no, you owe money. How free do you want to be? That's always the big thing I hear out of these amends that I'm talking. How free do you want to be of this thing? And I had this corner store by my mom's house, and I'm still living in the same area, but I got a car now, so I can kind of zip around. I had passed the guy a couple times on the street, and I got the same exact feeling as I'm walking up and down Mile Stretch or the area that I'm at sick, man. I get the same sinking gut in my feeling, and at this point, I'm like 7 months sober. And it's just like, how long can I really live like that, man? How long can I really look over my shoulder? How long can I really be scared of this kind of thing? And the reality was I was going to give it about 2 more weeks so that I didn't see the guy again. That's what it was. And I went into this little corner store, and I was like, I went in there like popping in just to get an energy drink real fast. I didn't recognize the cars in the parking lot. And I was like, I'll be in and out. It'll be no problem. Because I know it was this guy and his girlfriend. I was more scared of his girlfriend than I was him. And I go over, and I'm standing in these coolers, and I hear a familiar voice at the cash register, and it's her, right? It's his wife. And they came from a specific class of people known as white trash. One I have also grown up in. You know what I mean? These were my people. It's what we were fighting each other. And but she was doing one of those things that I had been known to do, where you go and you buy. She's buying like 3 different packs of cigarettes for different people, but she's using everybody. This is your money here, taking it and paying for another pack. And I just hear change clanking on there. And I stared at these Red Bulls forever, man. Just like, lady, you gotta leave. I was thinking too. I was like, oh, if only somebody gave her $30, she could get in and out of there a lot quicker. And she finally walks out, and I go to this cash register, and I buy whatever, and then she sits in her car for what was probably a couple minutes, but it felt like an eternity. And I'm just staring out the front of this convenience store window like a meerkat, just waiting for this lady to leave. And eventually leaves, but the deal was, in that point in time, man, whatever God had stuck in my way had brought me from this state of not a big deal, I'll do it when I feel like it, and it had shoved me into this state of willingness, and it had shoved me really into this A-step that we're talking about, that I'm willing to make these amends. And I decided that the next day I would go there, and I would go make this right. I would go make this restitution if they were there. I didn't know where she lived. I didn't remember the phone number. I didn't know how to get in touch with her. I knew where her mom lived and where her brother lived, and I thought, if I go there and they're there, I'll make the amends. that must be God's will for me or something like that at that time. And I pulled up, and I swear to God, it must have been like a family reunion. There were so many cars and there were so many people there. And I went and I knocked on the door, man, and she came to it. And it says that 9 times out of 10, the unexpected happens. And I don't know if I was expecting her to yell at me or give me a talking to or something like that. What I have come to believe, man, it's their money. They just want their money back. That's really, people are more shocked that I'm handing them over anything that they probably just wrote off years ago. And I hand her the money, and I tell her what was going on. I was a coward. I didn't pay you back. This is yours. I stole from you. You don't deserve that. And she gave me a hug. She gave me a big old hug and said, we're done doing this stuff. My husband had a stroke, but like we could really use this right now. We appreciate it so much. And I thought this was not the reaction. I thought she would take it and tell me to screw or something like that and shut it. I was really kind of hoping that was it, you know, and it goes through that process, and tell her, if you ever need anything, let me know. You know what I mean? And I left, man, and that whole thing had cleared up. But the cooler part about that, or what had happened a week later, there's a part in these 9-step promises. I'm not going to read them or anything, but it says that the first one is that we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. I rewrite these in my head, right? I read like, we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. In my head, tacks on like all the time, every single second of every day, you know. And but my reality is that it's there. And that I had gone, my girlfriend had went to some party, and there was some one of those ladies' makeup parties or something like that in the back of this apartment complex. And I had gone to pick her up, and I drive through the gate, and the first person, man, that I see on the right is this lady's husband. And he's there, and that same feeling, like I said, where I had seen him a couple weeks before I had made these amends, where my stomach dropped, wasn't there. You know what I mean? It had done something for me where it had lifted. I might have even have waved at him or something. I can't remember, but I drive back there, I pick her up, and what would have been a week or two prior, it would have been me saying, hey, listen, we might have to spend the night here, or you're going to have to drive out with me in the trunk like we're crossing the border or something. Was able for me to take her in there and leave with just completely, like, whatever was there, that was fine, because that whole thing was cleared up. And I've had numerous with these, like with my mom, and paying her money back and kind of trying to force her to take it another way, that these amends, that says take numerous forms, right? There's people who usually try to tell me like, nah, just keep doing what you're doing, which I think is great news. And I bring it to my sponsor and says like, no, man, we go much further than that. You owe them the money. You owe them this. We're going to figure out a way for you to make it right, whatever that might look like. But that has been like one of my favorite. I've had other ones too, man, but been something that has really pushed me deeper into this. And I've heard people saying that, you know, they do this 5th step and they feel, and I think it happens anywhere in between 5 and somewhere in between making these amends, but that they do this 5th step and they feel like they really earned this seat, you know what I mean, in one of these fellowships. And in my experience, man, I did these amends, and that's how I felt. You know what I mean? I started clearing this stuff up, and I really felt like I belonged here. I really felt like I was a part of this whole kind of deal. And it's changed my life and my relationships and the way I look at other people. There's a part on 85 that it says that, sorry, not 85. What am I looking at? I should read this book one day. 83, that we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindliness, and love, that this spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. I have to live it. And that's something I had pushed off in this meditation deal in a long way. And like I said, part of these amends is changing who I am as a person, asking God to help me change who I am as a person, and becoming somebody different, which is I don't know, push me in a different way on how I view life and treat other people, and grow in this relationship with God in a way I can't really articulate too well. So I don't know, that's enough out of me, but thank you guys for being here week after week. We'd be nothing without all 8 of you. It's good.